All right, welcome everybody to our second homeschool or home gathering, I can say. So excited you guys could all come. Just to give you a heads up, we've got some books in the back for you to pick up, and so make sure you do that on your way out. And we also have a nice couple boxes of veggies that you guys are welcome to help yourself to. So, all right, I'm going to start with a quick word of prayer. Holy Father, I just thank you so much for all that you continue to provide for us and continue to help us in this homeschool journey. I pray that we'll continue to just cry out to you when we need help and just seek you for our guidance in all these things. And I just thank you so much that we can count on you, and you're just so good to us in providing the way of salvation for us. I pray that you'll be with Shelley here as she talks to us and help us to just gain some encouragement and just whatever it is we need in this homeschool journey. In your holy name I pray. Amen. All right. So today we have Shelley Ferno, and she is a Jesus girl who is learning and growing and living a godly life. She has 9 kids and has been homeschooling for over 20 years. So I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Clip it on here. Okay. So it's not backwards. Okay. If I don't move around too much, although I tend to move around a lot. But all right, thank you for having me today. I so appreciate. I love coming to visit and talk and share whatever I can, especially if it's helpful. I always think it's funny when I talk about organization, because that has always been such a challenge for me. And in fact, one of the most things that's most often said to me when I say I have 9 children, they say, you must be patient, which is not true, and you must be really organized, which is not true. I don't know if I just show up with all of them, it must look like I am organized or something, I don't know. But I've had to work really hard at it. In fact, I recognize as an adult I have ADD, so I just really, and then with all those children in all those different directions, maybe I developed it from having 9 kids, I don't know. But for sure, it just has taken me a lot of focus, and I've had to work at it. But that means that I know exactly what things helped me, so I hope to share that with you. My sister is very organized just by nature, so she just automatically knows things, but that means she doesn't know to say it, because sometimes I'll discover something and she'll say, oh yeah, I knew that, and I think, well, why didn't you tell me? That would save me some time, because I just didn't know that. But so anyway, I'm delighted to be able to share in this, and it's going to be kind of a smorgasbord of ideas of things that have worked for me in a lot of different areas. So take what you need and don't worry about what you don't, because it's very much not about comparison. Everything that worked for me last week might not necessarily work for me next week. Everything that I've used in the past, all together, it sounds really organized and glorious, but separated over 20 years, it's all spread out and still really messy. So take what will help you, but don't feel compelled that you need to change things up because I've done something different. So I would like to know how many children each of you have, if you wouldn't mind sharing. 5. Okay, very good. And how many babies? Does anybody have anybody under a year? Who all has somebody under a year? No, we're kind of past that. Okay. I just wanted to know. What? Oh, yes, of course. We'll be there again. So is that one of your 5, or does that make 6? Okay. Congratulations. And is there any areas that anything in your home organization that you would really like to hear about? I'll give a time for questions and specific things after I've talked, but what? Everything. Oh, okay. So papers especially. Okay. Papers. I will say something. And then be honest, who has left a kid somewhere? Okay. Thank you. Oh yeah, because there's one more.
We have a bunch of boys,
Yeah, isn't that great? It's a great feeling, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it always makes me think. I think whoever finds my child will always think, see, that's when you have too many kids, when you leave with that. But, kids disappear, go to the bathroom, don't go where they're told. You just end up. So anyway, that's kind of fun. But it doesn't mean that you're destined to be disorganized just because you've left a child. So I just thought that was fun. So I kind of think of home management in two different sections, one stuff and one people. So I'll talk about stuff first. And the first organization thing ever, always for anyone, anything you look up is always declutter, which is easier said than done. But it worked naturally for me when we moved. I decluttered to sell the house. We ended up boxing up about 60% of our stuff that was left after I thought I decluttered. And then we lived like that for a few weeks and then moved. And then, when you move and you start with an empty house and you add stuff to it. So I kind of became accustomed to less things, and it was kind of a natural progression. And I started listening to, on YouTube, I would never watched YouTube a lot before, but I started listening to Dawn, the Minimal Mom, so I would highlight if you guys listen to her. So that's where I kind of was inspired to only put out what I really loved and really just let go of everything else. And so that helped. The two questions that helped me a lot in decluttering was, what do I want to move forward with? What is this thing, this item, whatever area, like books, is this a book that I see in my future or my children's future? Or is it just something I read and I can let go of? So that is the question that really helped me, because I tried that whole Maria Kondo with, does it bring you joy? And I have lots of stuff in my house that doesn't bring me joy, and I just can't get rid of it all. Yeah, so.
That book I had, babies and toddlers, and I'm like, well, this doesn't bring me joy,
But it's what it is. Right, exactly. So yeah, it helped me to think of it more as, is this part of my future? Is this what I want to? And I wasn't worried about getting rid of too much, because I proved to myself over and over again, I have no problem collecting things. So it's not a worry of getting rid of too many things. And then this is also an important question for me was, would I buy this again? Because there is a small category of things that even if I never use it or hardly ever look at it, I know I would just buy again because I just like it. So I would keep I give myself a small section of I just keep that. And even with just those, I have been able to get rid of, after we moved, I got rid of 2 van loads of stuff, so I was able to still get rid of some stuff. And it helps that my children are older and they can get on board and take care of their own things, and their own things can stay in their room. So there are areas of my house that look more minimalist than other areas. and that works because they're older. So I recognize this isn't the same. This isn't the same when you have small, young ones especially, that move things. But one thing I remember from that time is, if I was picking something up again and again, did we really need that thing? If the person who owned it could not take care of it, do we need it? Around that time, we had a dog that liked to chew hard plastic things, and I thought that was so annoying because there was all these busted toys. But then it became a real blessing, because the dog naturally sorted things that they didn't pick up. They knew the dog chewed things, and they knew it was their responsibility to take care of their things, and the things that got chewed up, I could throw away with no conscience at all. And so it became a natural selection of survival of the fittest, or the most clean, or whatever. So that helped a little bit too. Just making it a point that if something keeps getting messed up, there's something wrong with that system. Because even young children can pick up. But very often we have so many things that they really can't enjoy their things, and they can't take care of it. And I know each child has a separate level of that too. I have several children, thankfully, that if you tell them to clean a room, even from a young age, they understood what that meant. That meant clean the floor, pick up your things go where they go. And then I have 3 children that didn't make any sense to. Clean your room meant make a path or stuff under the bed, or, they had a different level. And so those children, I definitely had to do a lot more work with. And I consider it, as long as the child was good with it, even into some of the boys into the teens, I would do a maintenance clean on their room sometimes. It's their responsibility most of the time, but especially the one that had trouble organizing would end up collecting things that, when asked, where should this go, he would gladly get rid of, so he didn't have to put away. And so I just needed to help him with that process on a regular basis, so that he didn't have as much stuff that he really couldn't organize. So recognizing each child has a different level of ability to organize, but somebody who can't organize well needs less stuff. They can't keep track of it, they can't remember it, so they need less stuff. So also a YouTuber I listen to is Cass from Clutterbug. Have you guys watched her? Okay, she's super fun. But this helped me in understanding organization. Her theory is that there's 4 types of organization. There's macro and micro. Do you like big categories, or do you really like things in smaller categories? And there is hidden and out. And I was always an out person, because if I couldn't see it, it became not part of my world. So I learned to use clear containers. And I tell you that because that might help you in even helping your children to organize their things, or in organizing your different spaces. If a space isn't working, it might be that the categories are too small and nobody else cares about your system, and you just need to have a big bin. It might be that your husband likes everything hidden and will just hide things, and you like everything out, and you need to come to a way to. But if you know you like things out, you can organize things, you can find things that are pleasing to you and organize out where you can see it, and in micro or macro. That just really helped me in helping my children, but really helped me in understanding why some things just never work for me. If I file papers away, then they cease to exist, and I would not even remember to look for them. So that didn't work for me at all. Also, I would suggest labeling things as children learn to read. It's something about the way our brains are. It's pleasing to us to be able to put things away and have a label and know that that's where it goes. So I would encourage labeling. I wasn't a labeler, but then once I started, it is very nice. And then anybody can come behind you and tidy it or put things away. Anybody that can read, anyway. Also having a place for everything, so everything can be in its place. If something keeps getting misplaced again and again, you either don't really need it or haven't successfully found the place that needs to go. Also, make it as easy. This is Cass from Clutterbug also. She says, make it as easy to put away as it is to leave out. And that takes some thinking through where the natural messes are. And like, for example, my husband would always just throw his clothes at the side of the bed, because he's going to wear them again, or the laundry fairy is going to take them, I don't know. And so I got a cute basket. It's not a laundry basket exactly, it's a bin that I like, and I put on his side of the bed. So generally he makes it to that, but even if he doesn't, all I have to do is throw it there, and then I know to collect things from that. And that, just putting things where people are already going to put them and making a way to organize it there is your best bet, because they're not going to join you on your organization journey, but they might be compelled to continue what they're doing if it's not too far off. So, and also making things easy to put away. I don't have lids on most of my things. Storage, long-term storage I do, but everything else is lidless, because otherwise I wouldn't even bother putting it away. So I give you permission to take some time off, even get a junior sitter or whatever to spend time just mass organizing, or especially certain areas, or decluttering. If your home feels under control, it is easier to focus on school. And so it's okay to take a little bit of time off and straighten up some of the areas and get that going, good systems going, or at least things that you want to try, so that you feel prepared to start your day, start your school. It just helps. So it's okay to take some, not weeks and weeks, that's not going to work. But of course, taking a few days off, and with the specific purpose of taking care of your things. So the other category is people. I would and this is a little bit things. I would recommend a command center. Do you guys have that or familiar with that? Okay, you probably kind of have one and don't have it labeled like command center. I used to call it my brain, because it's always been, almost every place we've lived, it's been a couple extra cupboards in the kitchen that I could put all my stuff in. Things that I needed to keep track of, scissors, tape, or anything, paperwork, anything that we needed to do. But I have since seen command centers on Pinterest that were glorious and appealed to my everything out where you can see it sensibilities, but that might be overwhelming. So a good start for a command center, unless you just want to make it beautiful and glorious, is a command center should have a calendar that is where everybody, your husband or all the readers, can see it, which means you might have to put it down. My daughter uses a whiteboard one, which I think is ridiculous, because then you have to redo it, or if someone gets mad and swipes it, you've lost it. But she does only have 2 little girls that are less likely to do that. But I use just a calendar, and I buy the one with, it has a little pocket in the bottom, so I can tuck, and there's a clip on it, so I can put like dentist appointments, those kinds of little cards, any appointments, I clip to that month, so I can even do it ahead. And the calendar is supposed to have everybody's, we don't have a lot of outside activities, but if we're going somewhere, going to visit somewhere, or whatever, my older children like to know so they can get off work, because I forget to tell them. But when they ask me, I can say, well, did you look at the calendar? Because I did have it there. So the calendar is a great start. Also, a menu. I did have a menu just that I would put in I have 2 calendars, because one's for the kids to look at, but this is always open on the counter for me to do the weekly things. So I put everything, especially so I can do it in advance, on the monthly calendar, but then as I'm looking at my week, I have it separated into weeks, and I put notes to myself. And I have the menu on here, but I noticed my family will still always ask me what's to eat. Like, they'll be right in front of the calendar and ask me, and I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't memorize it. I wrote it so I didn't have to know. But so I have recently put a whiteboard, actually the cheapest I could find, and whiteboard on the fridge with magnets that has the menu, only the menu on it, and several children have referenced it. They can actually read it when it's on the fridge. So I don't know, that was a hint that I didn't realize I needed. But yeah, so they get it when it's on the, I put the menu, because it's always important to have the menu out where everybody can see it. So in case you actually have help, somebody starting a meal for you, even the middle kids can get food out and get stuff started for you. So if they know what to do, it's all right there. There's a place, you need to have a place for papers. For me, I keep just a folder. I did have it more organized and separated into sections. That did not work for me. I have one folder setting right there that I can put things that I know I'll look for in that week, the next week. It can be, it can be a little bit amount of time. And then as it gets too puffy, then I have to get rid of stuff that's not good anymore. And containers give you a natural way to realize this is full, we have to be done. We have to go through this again, a natural opportunity to do that. Another idea is a clipboard, just having, or several clipboards. I've done that before, up where the sports organizations or the library slips or the library list or, different things can be up where they can be referenced. Everything doesn't have to be showing, but it's all right there so you can easily flip through and find it. So a clipboard is or just bring the clipboard with you if it's got your lists on it or several. So even just having several clipboards with different, one for each person, if you're at that stage, or one for each activity, gives you a place to, and if you're a visual person, if you like things hidden, you can put that same idea on the inside of your cupboard so that it's when you open it. That way it's still easily accessible, but it doesn't have to be out if that kind of clutter bothers you. Let's see, so in a place for paper, a clipboard. I also use just a notebook. And this is even my list from last week. I just have this so that I can keep notes to myself so I know I'll look at it. And it seems, even to me, it seems funny that I have all these different places to put things. But if I have one notebook where all the notes are, then I know for sure whatever, like when I was on the phone and I wrote something down, or an address, or my list. This is my list for what I want to get done, either in a week or a day. Or I can leave notes to the children, or when the kids were younger and I would be very busy during the day, but some discipline thing would come up or some issue that I knew we needed to get back to, I would write it down on the notebook, and then very quickly my husband was trained to look at it, so I didn't even have to remember it. He would look at the notebook and see how the day had gone and see if there's anything that needed addressed. So that was super, and it's super simple, and I needed very simple things, because if I did something that took too much management, I wouldn't do it. So I looked for the simplest way. This is another notebook that I have, and it's just in my room. This is the books that I was reading, but I brought it to point out that these grid pads are super great for any kinds of lists. But I recommend keeping it, not loose papers, all in one notebook as much as possible so it doesn't get lost. Well, or maybe you don't lose things like I lose things. So, okay, the next group of things are more or less little snippets of things that may or may not be helpful. Hopefully they are. I think of leaving the house was always kind of an issue where people would lose things, and that we would just get undone and then start the whole thing in a bad way. So one of the ideas is to make sure that you have practice times when you don't have to be someplace at a certain time. Have a specific time, and summer was great for that, but you can do it anytime. Just say, we need to go, we need to all get ready, and then you're not in a time constraint, you're just going to the park or something, and you can evaluate better what isn't working. Like, is it always the same person who's dawdling, or always the same shoes that are lost, or always the same person that's naked at the door, or whatever the issue is, that you can see what the problem is when you're not under the stress of trying to get someplace for real. Or after a few practices, say, let's all go for ice cream, and then see how fast everybody can get ready and be ready all together, and how much they help each other. And then you can have a serious talk about, see what we did, this is our ice cream fast. So when I need you guys to hurry, I'm gonna say ice cream fast, and I need you guys to book it and work together like you did now. So it's always, then they also have a measurement, like if you've never had a successful leave in 10 minutes, like you need some way to make that happen so they can tell the difference. Oh, isn't this more pleasant? Mom didn't lose her mind while we were trying to get out the door. So those are things. Also, my grandma stayed with us one time, and she said, it was when I had 3 youngers and then 2 like older elementary, so very helpful, capable people. And she said, well, why don't you just have one girl help you with the children and one girl get the diaper bag? And I was like, that's brilliant. So after that, we called it bodies and bags. And one of the olders was always in charge of bodies, and that meant helping me get people dressed and make sure that they were all accounted for, all dressed and all out and all shoes and all that. And the other one was bags, so whatever, if it was library books, that was a bag. If it was a diaper bag, it was whatever. So bodies and bags, very simple and direct, and you can find it. Another issue is shoes. When you have a lot of little people, there's just so many shoes. And girls are, I mean, I love boys. They can have like 1 or 2 pairs of shoes and shorts and jeans and t-shirts, and they're all pretty good for the most part. And girls have, you need different shoes for different things and different, it becomes too much. And so for shoes, our simple method would be a basket by the door, because then at least they're all collected and they're all in one spot and not strung all over. So simplest, that we would do. Sometimes we did the tree where you had those just closet organizers, and we would just make a tree with it, and there was lots of places. And that still needs maintained. Like every couple weeks, somebody had to go and make sure that we were only allowed 2 pairs of shoes at the tree or whatever, and then they would be responsible for delivering the rest back. So, or sometimes it's been adequate. Now we just have a rug, and everybody's old enough to take their shoes to their room, and it depends on your house and your house rules and your needs, but figuring out shoes is really going to go a long way in helping you, I'm sure. So notice where the exact issue is, or who it rests with, or what the exact issue is, and then solve that problem, figure that exact thing out in the simplest way possible. If they throw their shoes in the wrong place, can that wrong place become the right place with a rug or with other, is there some other way you can do that and train? Bedtime routine, does anybody have trouble with bedtime routines, or do you guys? So my trouble came when we had several people. Sometimes the older girls would put the toddler down, sometimes Jim or I would. So I came up with a bedtime routine, kind of a ritual, and I posted it on the child's door so that anybody who put that child to bed, these were the steps, like brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, and read the story, say your prayers, that's it. And 1 out, and you put them back, and then whatever your discipline is after that, if there's an after that, you figure it out, you post it exactly. The second time up is the SWAT, or the second time up is no talking, or but posting it was the quickest way to get rid of those, because it got us all on the same page, so we were doing the same thing. So, and usually that takes care of it. Laundry, does anybody love laundry? I do too. I love laundry. I love folding clothes. I love that they're clean. I love all of it.
It's not like
There are much worse things. Yeah, there are much worse things. But it does become, when you have so many people, a lot to manage. It's another thing to manage. So for our house, anybody over 10 learn to do their own laundry, and then they have their own laundry basket, so it can be separate. And then on the weekends, I do the sheets and the towels or whatever. And that has been really great for us. I know some families have certain people are in charge of collecting the laundry or doing the laundry. The children get involved, and yeah, I don't have a lot of. I like doing laundry, so it's usually not a problem. I do have a cousin who put cubbies in her laundry room, and that's just where the clothes went. So she would fold them and put them in. Each person had a couple cubbies, and then you knew where your clothes were. If you went and got them, great. If you didn't, you just changed in the laundry room, and there's your dirty clothes. So I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe somebody needs to hear that. But chores, the chores need to be posted. You need to assign everybody chores, and schedule a time for chores during your day. Also, schedule a time for chore training. Sometimes we ask our kids to do something and we forget to actually walk them through all the steps. At times I've also posted like what a clean bathroom looks like, either a picture or a list of these things need to happen for me to count this bathroom or bedroom or whatever clean. Sometimes that has helped at different times. Currently I have the 3 girls are, roughly the same ability level, so I just have an A, B, C list. and they just know whether they're A, B, or C, and it's posted. Sometimes we do alternating, but if we have to alternate too much, then I have to remember, or they're always asking, or Jim will come in and who does the dishes? And of course nobody will claim any chore if you ask that way. So it needs to be posted where we all just know and where they can look and not just, and I don't have to remember it. I think those are the mostly, sometimes you have to evaluate as children are getting older, what they're really capable of and what, so you kind of have an age, like sweeping the floor, 7 if you're not too picky, but 12 if you really care, if you can, So I know everybody's house is different, but deciding, I would have my children do things probably earlier than a lot of families around us, and that's probably the function of having a lot, but also I was happy if it got done at all, and I wasn't too fussy by that point of how well it was done, but then everybody took ownership. So definitely, even our under 4 group was always silverware. They at least had the minimum of putting the silverware because that's great sorting. So yeah, everybody needs a chore. And they don't have to alternate if you've got, when your children are a little more spread out, everybody can't do the same chores, but everybody can do some chores, and to have it posted, and they actually, take pride in that too, of being part of the household. And meal planning. So does anybody like meal planning, or do you guys kind of plan your meals ahead, or? Okay. Yeah, it just makes things, right, exactly. So I typically have just, decided things that we like and done it week by week. Or if somebody asks for a meal, then I make sure and write that down so we can have that next week. But I've also found I have in the past done a whole month at a time, and it's not that that's so accurate. By the time we get to that week, we're like, oh, we're way too busy for that, and I have to switch things around. But it at least gives a starting point, and if you're already worn out, you don't have to think of all these things, all these meals ahead of time. So I've planned a meal a month at a time, and then also I can look back, because you do basically repeat the same summer meals, the same winter meals. So you can just look back at last month and add a few of those, and something somebody asked for, and spaghetti when you don't know what, or frozen pizza if your family does that. But something that has come up, so it's upside down. There's Iowa Girl Eats, I think, sends me recipes, and I can print them out, and I just put them in the sheet protector. I also have the standbys, and these are recipes that made it in here, have definitely been liked. And the ones I have a whole big stack of these, and then I can just take the top 5 and then put those in the back when I'm done with the week. So it's super easy meal planning, and I have a magnet clip on the fridge, so I take these out and put them on the fridge. So when somebody asks me what's for supper, or it is, one of the girls is each week, it's their job to help with, sometimes they make lunch, sometimes they help with supper. I don't usually have them make a whole meal themselves, but they could. I mean, I'm trying to get them to where they could. But then the recipes are already all on the fridge, and they can work through it. The other thing that was super, this came across my Instagram, Frugal meal planner, and she has, so I bought it, it was only $20, and then I just had to print it all out, and she has it separated by quarters, and she has the menu all planned. She does it to where there's only 3 meals a week because she serves leftovers the second day. I did not raise my family that way. We cannot do that. But it still gives me 3 meals I didn't have to think of, and it has all the recipes just like the other thing that I do, so I can put them on there. And since this is the first year we're using this, I'm still in the process of working out, oh, that takes too long. oh, this one is good, everybody loves it, oh, nobody's eating that. So yeah, and then it does give plenty of leftovers, and we always have a leftover day. So starting your week with, like, we always have spaghetti or we always have pizza, say on church night, so that you know it's something easy to make that somebody else can help with. And then adding a few more ideas. It's very easy to menu plan. It helps with shopping and it helps with the night, because I don't know how many times you're not even ready to think about supper and people are asking you what's for supper, and it's so nice to have an answer, like go look on the fridge and you tell me what we're having, and then maybe you should lay out the meat, because I don't think I did that either. But then it is it's a super, I was never a meal planner. Well, actually I would write the meals that we generally had for that week, whatever I bought, and just leave it on a list on the fridge, and then you could just cross off as you go, and that's a very streamlined, easy approach. Nobody was helping me with those meals. That was all me. That was little kids. So sometimes that's just easier, and then you can decide, what do I have the bandwidth for today? But yeah, having some kind of plan makes you feel better, but it also makes the people you're asking feel better. Oh, we will get fed again. I don't know, I feel like sometimes my kids feel like they're not going to get fed or something. Like, we've done it every day it reminds me of that quote, like, I'm all for feeding them healthy meals and everything, but every day for the next 18 years, that seems excessive. And sometimes it really feels excessive. But these are things that even with I don't really like planning, it's not my favorite. These are pretty simple ways that I've found I'm willing to keep doing. So if that helps. Wait for it on the fridge. Oh, sometimes it's as simple as if you plan 1 week, you make twice as much food, and then and put the extra in the freezer. Then the next week you have all freezer meals, but they're already planned, and you just have to get them out. That's I know some people have done that. That never worked for me. I do like to have some in-case freezer meals, though, when I had a bigger freezer. It doesn't work now. But when I had a bigger freezer, I would have meals. That made it nice. If I had a couple casseroles, if I had a friend that had a rotten day, I had something I didn't have to do any other work for. It's already done. So that was something that really was a blessing. Oh, and teaching them to, when you have meals already planned, you can have whoever's old enough or interested, or you just need somebody with you in the journey, you can have somebody write down the meal list or pick out meals, or you can have them write down what you need for each meal so that they're helping with the shopping list. There came a point, it was in our move, she was 14 at the time, she really liked shopping anyway, so that wasn't a stretch. And she got to where if I didn't have the menu all the way finished, she would just finish it. And if I wasn't getting to it, she would just write the list. And she would add, ice cream, and she would add things that she wanted too. But overall, she did a decent job. And it wasn't something I actually had to ask her to do, but she had been part of that process all along. And there came a time when we were getting ready to move, and I was painting, and you know how you just don't want to get dressed. You're painting, you're yucky, you don't want to get dressed to go shop and feed people. And people like being fed regularly, I guess. And so she would just do the list for me, and Jim would take her shopping and drop her off at the store, and he just needed to be there to pay for it. And she could do all the shopping because she knew what we normally picked out. And I think that time she had actually even done the list too. So it was just super helpful I didn't require that of her all the time, but it was super helpful when I was really busy. So yeah, you bring them along and in the process of planning, and they can ultimately, eventually, be a lot more help with it, because they'll have meal ideas. You're like, I don't know what we want to have. What do you guys want to have? And after you get through the ice cream and the Doritos, they usually have good ideas. So, so travel is another thing that wasn't. We didn't all enjoy traveling together to the same degree. So some of my traveling hints are, we always would have extra flip-flops in the vehicle, just on the back of the seat. I don't know how many times we'd get someplace, somebody would really, really need to go to the bathroom, but really, really not even know where their shoes are. And so flip-flops, and they should be black because I had a child who would not go in pink flip-flops. So black ones would be better. I also, if we're getting ready for a trip like family camp, I have a big whiteboard and I would write their names along the side and the things that we normally forget, their bag, their pillow, a jacket, and shoes. I would write that across the top, and sleeping rollers or blankets, whatever. They didn't usually forget those though. But everything else, they would arrive places with no jackets and no pillow. What was your plan? So I would put that, and then I didn't feel like I was asking everybody over and over if they had all their stuff, and everybody knew what all their stuff looked like, and I could mark that child off if their stuff was all downstairs or all loaded or whatever. So I found that super helpful when keeping track of many people. And I let the kids make the seating chart because that was always, with a 15-passenger van, that was always a big deal. But then the heat was off me, and they knew from the back perspective who got along. So I don't know if anybody needed that hint. Also, I don't know if you guys ever heard this, a bag of candy. They get the huge bag of candy when you get there, but every argument or every fussiness, you throw a handful of candy out. So I don't know how you feel about littering, but they super are committed to having that candy. So I don't know, sometimes that's a good motivator. I also always had extra clothes in the van and a pair of nondescript black sweatpants that fits kind of multiple sizes, because I had many that were kind of close anyway, and extra diapers and wipes. That way, if we forgot the diaper bag, if the diaper bag hadn't been repacked, or I would have older kids' clothes, because we have gotten to family events and had stomach problems or issues where an older child needed an extra set of clothes too, and it was nice to have that at a day trip that I wouldn't have normally packed for. So yeah, extra clothes in a bag or a cubby or something in the vehicle that stayed in the van. Notebooks are a good traveling item because you can keep lists, but it keeps them entertained and they can draw or do games with each other. And once in a while I would do surprise bags when they were younger, that I would just take lunch bags, the number of children that would require a bag, and put a little bit of candy or a little toy or something that would just, at 100 miles, at 500 miles or whatever for a long trip, that would help entertain them and give them something to look for. I can tell you, don't put stickers in there, even if you give them a notebook, because the stickers will end up not where you thought they were going to go. So, but yeah, so you have to mindfully be thoughtful about what goes in the bag, but it is kind of helpful to pass the time. So the next section is medication. Having multiple children, and sometimes multiple children on different medicines when there's sickness in the house or whatever, people aren't feeling well, I would use a 3x5 index card and post it on the fridge or wherever I kept the medicine, so that I would either have the schedule on it or at least write down, if it was as needed, write down the last time. That way, it's especially if you're sharing the duties. Well, I would just get tired and not remember, honestly. But if you're sharing the duties with anyone, you need to be able to have a way to share that information. So, or in the middle of the night, if your husband gets up, it'd be nice to know the last time they had Tylenol. So that is one way. Things that walk away. Things in your house that are continually being misplaced or taken when they weren't supposed to, like scissors, like tape, hairbrushes, things like that. If you tether them, if you get some twine or yarn or string and tie them to the place that they're supposed to be, and make a steep consequence for cutting the tether. Like only mom should really be allowed to do the cutting of the tether, but I don't know, that helps. And also, I just bought multiples of hairbrushes and tape. Scissors, I ended up writing people's names on so that it would be obvious if you did not have what you're supposed to have. But yeah, tethering sometimes helps eliminate things disappearing, because that's frustrating. For time, there's for organizing your time. I know I've suggested before, managers of their home. If you really are struggling with a schedule, I still highly recommend that. It really is worth it. It works for people who are not given to organized, styles of living. Managers of their home. But people who are very organized appreciate it too. So I've heard.
So this is a book?
It is a book, and it also comes with a whole scheduling kit. And it really just helps you really prayerfully dissect how your schedule should look. And it's quite detailed. And I'm not someone who's just tied to a schedule. I mean, that is actually my problem in the other way. So a schedule helps give us something to aim for, and it helped me think through. Also, if we were just expecting too much out of our time. If it didn't all fit on the chart when I was scheduling it, it really wasn't going to all fit in our day no matter what I thought. So I'm just endlessly optimistic with what's possible. So yes, it really helped with reality with me. So scheduling in block or in half-hour segments, that would be what the book is. Also just scheduling block, like this is when we eat lunch, and this is what I want to have done before lunch, all our core subjects, or all the reading, or math and reading, or however. If it's more of just a kind of a thumbnail sketch, it's still a schedule, and it's still helpful and keeps people on track. And you just also need to be willing to, once you get to that cutoff, like lunch is just a great hard cutoff. Everyone's going to want to eat. So it's a great time to stop and reevaluate, even if everything didn't get done. So, and it helps you really mindfully put the important things first. Like, how often do we get through a day and we really didn't even remember to start in prayer, or we skipped over family devotions because we just really we got up late, we need to start. So scheduling helps mindfully put the important things in your schedule first. And then if you don't get everything else done, it's not as big of a pain. Also, I would say leave time to schedule. Leave time to train into your schedule daily. Even if you don't have something you're currently training on, like with chores or whatever, you always, with young children, will be training. Someone needs to learn how to tie their shoes. Someone needs to work on their math flashcards for a little while. Or two siblings need to learn to work together. There's always those things that interrupt your day that you haven't scheduled, but happen regularly, that would go in the training time. So leave 10 or 15 minutes, I would say 15 or 20 minutes a day when you have young children. And they can help each other. It doesn't have to be everybody. But I would do, when I saw my vacuum was being mishandled, I would call a session, and I would invite everybody to the dining room at a certain time, and we would go over use of my vacuum. And Jim was highly amused by it, but it was something that was important, that if we were going to go through no more than one vacuum a year, that we need to get some things down. So anyway, yeah, if that gives you that little block of time that you always know you have, so you're not perpetually getting behind. Littles during school, of course, when I talked about that before, spend time with them first, fill their little cup, and then start with the olders. Also busy bins, something that is left for only school so that it's more attractive and hopefully put up and neat and ready to go. And scheduling time with a buddy. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a much older child, like one of your older ones. I would schedule a toddler and a slightly older toddler together. You just need to know your kids and practice with that a little bit. They can be trained to be, you would want to be in earshot, of course, but they can be trained to be pretty independent for a 20, maybe even up to 30-minute time block. So the systems, any system you come up with needs to be worked on. You don't just come up with the perfect system and then it just runs itself. Like, that was kind of how I was hoping it worked, and I found out it does not work that way. You have to be willing to do maintenance, regular maintenance, and you have to be ready to evaluate, especially when you have little ones who are, their boundaries are changing and what they can do is changing. You need to be able to just evaluate that regularly, whether that's a planned time or just as you see fit. And really think about what isn't working. I want you to think about what is working in your house, because there's probably lots of stuff that already really does work, or that you couldn't change if you wanted to. Like for me, it was snack time at 10 o'clock. I thought we got past needing a snack at 10 o'clock, but I really could not change that no matter how hard I wanted to. So so that just became, that works for us. We just all need a mental break and a little snack at 10 for a lot of years. So evaluate what really is working or what you couldn't change even if you wanted to, and be honest. And then figure out what isn't working and an exact system for that, or at least a plan, something that you can try. I find asking your husband, even though he's not there maybe for all the nitty-gritty, he knows you and he knows your children that you're dealing with. He actually might have some good insight. I was always impressed with my husband. Also, don't forget to ask God for wisdom in whatever the specific thing is. Sometimes we think of praying about the big things, but it's so awesome when you pray about a little thing and the answer comes and the children get to enjoy that with you. Like, God cares about those. He wants our days to run well too. So maybe pick one thing at a time or one area of struggle and work on that. Don't feel like you have to upset the fruit basket, everything. That's probably not going to be effective, and it's probably going to be really discouraging for everybody. So maybe just start with one area, figure out what a good system is, try it for a couple weeks and see if it is the answer, and then start something else. Then pick out another thing. So the answer might be that you need to do less. If you really just can't, if it doesn't fit all on the paper, it really might not just fit all on your day. So maybe you have to do less just for this season. Maybe you have to have less stuff. That is just going to make things so much easier. It's kind of painful when you're doing it, but I can tell you on the other side, so good, so much freedom. There's not as much to look after, not as much to maintain. So I would encourage that, but also just learn to enjoy the messy, busy season that you're in. It's just not going to look the same all the time. I would also say that as far as not feeling like we get it all done, the important thing is that we can still, we aren't going to have peace when our house is all clean like we think we will. We're not going to have peace if our children are all obedient, like we hope that, like I've never experienced that, but I would think it would be peaceful. But we're actually going to have peace when we're doing what God asks us to do and faithfully obeying Him. And that's being the best wife and mother you can. It's not doing it all. It's not having the neatest, cleanest house. We will have peace when we trust in God to show us what to do, and when we're doing what He asks us to do, not everything we expect. It's not even, I know comparison's a hard thing when you feel like there's all these expectations on you or to be a certain way, but I think very truly we're harder on ourselves. I think very truly we expect more than we would expect out of our friend, or more than we would expect out of anybody that we would see. So really consider that. I think we don't give ourselves grace because we don't understand God's grace. So maybe just take a season to appreciate God's grace and really reflect on that, and then allow yourself the grace that He's already given you for whatever season you're in. And don't worry about getting it all done. When people would say, even when I had 5 and 6 and just whatever, people would say, oh, how do you get it all done? And I would laugh to myself because I would think, I'm probably not doing what you think I'm doing. I'm probably not getting it all done. We're all fed. We're all dressed. Sometimes that was our day. So I never wanted to present that way to other people, because I really thought, especially when I was younger, that I was helping promote God. I was helping be like, I was His PR agent or something for large families. And I finally just got more comfortable with, no, it's really just not always going to look the same or look like other people think it should, and that's okay, because I am doing what God's asking me to do. And my husband's very happy with me, so we're good. So just allow yourself some of that grace. So, does anybody have any, as I was talking, any specific things that they would like to ask, like something that specifically goes in your house that you thought, oh, if I had somebody I would ask this question to? I might not be able to answer, but somebody else might. Maybe not yet?
Any specific gadgets or tools that you use that have really helped with clean organizing?
Getting rid of more gadgets actually helps.
Yeah.
Just so I have a broom and a mop. And for a while we had one of those Swiffers, but the kids would go through so much junk with the, I'm like, we're not doing that. We have 2 dogs, so we have a lot of dog hair, so just the Swiffer dry ones, we go through a lot of those. But I can't think of anything. The fewer the things that you have to choose from, the better off everyone is. It's really my best advice. But thank you. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shelley. I know I got a whole lot out of that. I don't think I have much more room for notes if I even wanted to. So yeah, don't forget to grab your book, Praying the Bible by Donald S. Whitney out there. There should be a little stack of them. We also have the veggies and to grab and a snack sign up if you can. And our next gathering will be October 14th. We'll be discussing choosing curriculum with Margie Nahn. So I'll be looking forward to that too. Have a great month.